In 1980, a massive failure was staring Nintendo right in the face. A young artist was handed an almost impossible challenge: salvage tons and tons of unsold arcade hardware. Now, he didn't build a better shooter. He built a story about a carpenter, a princess, and a giant ape. Today, we're going to dive into the mind of that artist, Shigeru Miyamoto, to uncover the systematic belief that turned a total disaster into a global empire of joy. This is the story of the Miyamoto Rule.
So how in the world did he do it? How did one person's vision completely flip the script for an entire industry? Well, here's our game plan for today. We'll start with that legendary story about apes and a looming corporate disaster. Then we're going to journey back to the source of his inspiration, a boy who discovered a cave. From there, we'll define the Miyamoto Rule, see the brilliant system he built to protect it, explore the empire of joy it created, and wrap up with the one lesson that every single creator needs to hear.
All right, let's set the scene. It's 1980, Nintendo of America is just getting started, and they are in some serious trouble. They bet the farm on an arcade game called Radar Scope, and it has completely, utterly bombed. We're talking about a warehouse just packed with thousands of unsold, unwanted arcade cabinets. The situation is looking pretty bleak.
And this, right here, is the moment where everything changes. With the company's future hanging by a thread, the president of Nintendo hands this massive problem to a young, pretty much unknown industrial designer named Shigeru Miyamoto. I mean, the pressure is just immense. The safe bet, the easy way out, would be to just reskin the failed game, make a slightly better space shooter. But Miyamoto's mind wasn't on the hardware. He was thinking about the story.
Just think about that challenge for a second. This is not some blue sky creative project with a blank check. It is a rescue mission, and it's defined by some serious limitations. He has to use the existing hardware, the same monitor, the same joystick, the same buttons. He's literally working inside a box. But you know what? It was that box, those very limitations, that forced an incredible breakthrough. This slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? The two different worlds clashing right here. On one side, you have the industry's obsession with technology. It was basically a tech arms race. Who had the faster processors, who had more colorful sprites? The consensus was crystal clear: better tech sells more games. And then, on the other side, you have Miyamoto's radical pivot. He bet everything on pure imagination, arguing that the real potential wasn't in the hardware, but in the human heart. And the result of that bet? Donkey Kong. Not just a hit, but a complete and total game changer. I mean, yes, it saved the company for sure. But more importantly, it was the living, breathing proof of concept for Miyamoto's entire philosophy. It was the first undeniable piece of evidence that what truly captures an audience isn't raw power, but a sense of play, a feeling of wonder. This was the birth of his rule. Okay, so where did this wild idea to put imagination before technology even come from? Well, to really understand the Miyamoto Rule, you have to understand the man. And even more than that, you have to understand the boy he once was. Miyamoto's design philosophy wasn't cooked up in a focus group or boardroom. Nope, it was forged in the countryside around his childhood home in Japan. He wasn't inside fiddling with circuits, he was out there in the fields and forests exploring, getting his hands dirty, literally mapping the area by hand. This curiosity, this hands-on approach, all led to that one key discovery: a hidden cave, which became the emotional core of his life's work. Even his education mirrored this. He fought against being pushed into one specialty, always wanting to see the whole picture. Let's just sit with that for a minute. Imagine you're a kid exploring the woods you think you know like the back of your hand, and then you stumble upon the dark entrance to a cave. That mix of fear and curiosity and pure excitement, the feeling of stepping into the unknown, and the absolute thrill of discovering what's inside. That specific feeling, that's the secret sauce. It's the emotional blueprint for every single dungeon in The Legend of Zelda, for every secret warp pipe in Super Mario. He wasn't trying to simulate reality. He was trying to bottle the feeling of wonder itself. And this is where he really broke away from the rest of the industry. In a world that was quickly getting obsessed with data and market research, Miyamoto trusted a totally different source: his own empathy. He believed he could feel what the player would feel, their frustration, their joy, their aha moments. Because he was really just designing for that curious kid that lived inside him, and by extension, inside all of us. So, by rejecting specialization in school, and then rejecting the tech arms race at work, he carved out this completely unique role for himself. He wasn't just a designer or an artist, he became the advocate for the player inside the machine. He was our representative, making sure every single decision served one ultimate goal:
that pure, unfiltered feeling of play. All right, so we've seen the crisis that sparked the idea and the childhood that shaped the man. Now let's put a name on it. Let's formally define the philosophy that changed video games forever. And there it is, the Miyamoto Rule. It sounds so simple, right? But back then, it was absolutely radical. It's this core belief that playfulness isn't just some nice feature to have. It's the entire point. It's the foundation you can build an actual empire on. By putting the feeling of fun above everything else, above realism, above fancy graphics, above processing power, you create something that doesn't just sell, you create something that lasts. This one idea just reframes the whole purpose of technology. Think about it. Is the point of a faster chip to render more realistic textures on a brick wall? Or is it to create a smoother, more responsive, more satisfying feeling when you make a character jump? For Miyamoto, the answer was always crystal clear. Technology isn't the goal, it's a tool, and its highest purpose is to generate human joy. Now, a philosophy is a beautiful thing, but a system is what actually makes things happen. The Miyamoto Rule isn't just this vague idea of fun. No, it's supported by 3 solid, actionable pillars that guided his teams. So let's break each one down. First up, empathy design. This is all about making the controls feel so natural they disappear. When Mario jumps, it just needs to feel right, instantly. The goal is to get rid of the frustration of learning so you can get straight to the joy of playing. Second, the aha moment. This is that magic of discovery, just like finding that cave. It's designing a world that teaches you how it works without a boring tutorial, leading to that incredible feeling when you figure it out for yourself. And third, subtraction for essence. This one might be the hardest and most important. It's the discipline to say no, to ruthlessly cut anything, any feature, any mechanic that doesn't directly make the core experience more fun. Okay, so you've got this brilliant player-first philosophy, but brilliant ideas are fragile, right? How do you protect it from the daily grind of deadlines and budgets and all that corporate stuff? Well, you don't just hope for the best. You build a system around that idea. And this is where the sheer genius of his system really comes into play. Before a single line of expensive code was written, before big teams of engineers were brought in, the core idea had to prove itself in the simplest way possible. Miyamoto's teams would use sketches, paper cutouts, whatever they could get their hands on to test one simple thing. Is this idea actually fun? Because look, if it's not fun on paper, it's definitely not going to be fun with better graphics. This protects the idea when it's most vulnerable. This slide just lays it out so clearly. On the left, you've got the typical industry model. Departments working in their own little bubbles, a focus on technology first, and that constant pressure to add more features, what we call feature creep. And on the right, you see Miyamoto's system. Fusion teams, that fun-first prototyping we just talked about, and that incredibly disciplined practice of ruthless simplification. It's a system designed from the ground up to protect the rule. And this mandate was absolutely critical. Miyamoto basically threw out the old corporate structure of isolated departments. He forced artists, engineers, and programmers into the same room working together from day one. Why? Because it stops the technology from bossing around the design. The engineer can't just build some cool new engine and then tell the artist to make a game for it. Instead, the whole team has to work together to figure out how the tech can best serve the story, and most importantly, that feeling of play. So what happens when you follow this rule and this protective system year after year, decade after decade? You get an empire, but not an empire of conquest. You get an empire built entirely on joy. The proof is right here. This isn't just a list of successful video games. Come on, this is a list of global cultural touchstones. Every single one of these franchises is a living testament to the power of the Miyamoto Rule. They've lasted for decades, not because of their graphics, but because their core mechanics are just timelessly fun. The simple joy of jumping on a Goomba or finding a hidden passage in Hyrule, those feelings just never get old. Before Miyamoto, video games were kind of a niche hobby, just disposable entertainment for arcades. He was the one who elevated them into mainstream experiences that whole families could share. He proved over and over again that a video game could be a work of art, a way to tell a story, and a source of joy that connects everyone, no matter their age, language, or culture. But his impact goes way beyond his own incredible games. The Miyamoto Rule, this obsession with empathy and putting the player's feeling first, is now a foundational principle for designers all over the world. It doesn't matter if they're making games or smartphone apps or websites. He basically institutionalized the player-first mentality. So what's the big takeaway here? What does all of this mean for us? Beyond the history of Nintendo, how can we apply the Miyamoto Rule to our own work, maybe even our own lives?
This is really the heart of it all. It doesn't matter if you're writing code, designing a product, leading a team, or just planning a get-together. The highest goal you can possibly aim for is to create a delightful experience for another person. It's about shifting your focus from the thing you're making to the feeling the person using it is going to have.
So here it is, your blueprint for putting this into action. First, empathy design. Before you do anything else, just ask, what do I want the other person to feel? Second, subtraction for essence. And this is the hard part. You have to be a ruthless editor of your own ideas. Simplify, then simplify again, until only the essential, joyful core is left. And finally, hunt for that aha moment. Engineer those small moments of discovery and satisfaction in whatever you do.
And that's the question to leave with. Shigeru Miyamoto built an empire on the simple truth that the greatest technology is always, always in service of the human imagination. He showed us how his rule can transform failure into a blueprint for creating joy. It's a reminder that the pursuit of wonder isn't childish, it's a craft. And that's the immutable rule that ties it all together. Forget the features, forget the specs, forget the competition. Always, always start with the feeling.